Ever seen a grown woman cannonball into a pool, martini glass in hand, grinning like she owns the neighborhood, only to come shooting back up screeching like she'd been zapped by lightning? That was the opening act of my weekend. 1 second, Paige was midair. The next, she was thrashing and wailing, water flying everywhere while the entire block froze in disbelief. Kids started crying, parents stumbled over lawn chairs, one guy wiped out and shattered my garden gnome, and the DJ scrambled to save his speakers before they got soaked. I wasn't even out of my car yet. Caught the whole thing through the motion alert from my backyard camera and just sat there, watching absolute pandemonium unfold. Paige was in my pool, a sea of inflatable toys bobbing around her, people fleeing like someone had spotted a fin in the water. Now, before you get the wrong idea, I'm not some antisocial recluse who hates fun, but my pool is not some public splash zone. I work as a marine biologist, and I'd recently gotten HOA approval to test a new eel repellent gel in my pool. It's safe, totally non-toxic, but when it comes in contact with chlorinated water and skin, it causes a strange, tingly discomfort. Nothing harmful, just unsettling enough to keep electric eels away. I'd followed every rule, posted big warnings, locked the gate, notified the HOA and my research team. What I didn't account for was Paige. She's the kind of neighbor who rearranges other people's flower beds, treats the HOA like her personal concierge, and somehow never returns anything she borrows. Turns out, while I was away at a marine conference, she decided my backyard was just perfect for the annual Unity Splash Party. She snipped off my caution tape, broke the lock with bolt cutters, and transformed my private property into a full-blown block party. Tents, food tables, a kid blasting 80s hits from a Bluetooth speaker. She even told everyone she had cleared it with a friend. Spoiler, I wasn't that friend. So when she belly flopped into the water, dragging 2 more partygoers in with her, and all 3 of them started howling like they'd been dunked in electric fizz, the scene fell apart fast. One guy in neon swim trunks bolted and slipped, crashing into a cooler full of wine coolers. Another tumbled straight into my petunias. And Paige was screeching something about her skin melting and flailing like she was in a cartoon. I walked in through the gate, phone out, filming the entire mess. No one would have believed it otherwise. Paige saw me, hair plastered to her face, and shrieked, "What did you do?" I replied, calm as possible, "You're standing in a test zone, Paige. This pool contains a compound designed to deter electric eels. Unless you're planning to swim up the Amazon, I suggest you get out." She stormed off, dripping wet and muttering about lawsuits and nerve damage, while the rest of the guests followed behind, shivering and scratching their arms like they'd bathed in mint shampoo. A few even apologized. One guy leaned in and whispered, "That was the worst pool I've ever been in. What was that stuff?" I just shrugged and said, "Science." By nightfall, my yard looked like a science fair exploded during spring break. Flamingos overturned, snack wrappers in the bushes, sunglasses floating belly up. I spent hours draining the pool, taking photos, filing a report with the HOA and local authorities, security footage included. Here's the twist. When the HOA board reviewed the video and saw Paige busting the lock and tossing aside the warning signs, something finally clicked. One member messaged me, "This is gold. Can I show this at the next meeting?" The HOA group chat blew up. Someone even coined the term poolgate. For a moment, I thought justice had finally been served. That maybe, just maybe, this would be the end of Paige's reign of chaos. I was wrong. Instead of backing down, Paige went into overdrive. She printed flyers accusing me of poisoning the pool with imaginary chemicals. Things like Neuroskin X and amphibian acid. She warned neighbors of made-up conditions like chronic skin reversal. She posted cropped photos online, making my yard look like a sci-fi quarantine zone, conveniently skipping the part where she broke in and hosted an unauthorized pool party. A few neighbors believed her. Most didn't, but the damage was done. And that, in short, is how my weekend turned into a cross between Mythbusters and Desperate Housewives. My favorite part? Mrs. Grady, our retired chemistry teacher, grinning as she handed me a flyer and said, "This woman thinks sodium and salt are 2 different things. That was her way of warning me. Paige was at it again. Next thing I knew, city inspectors showed up. Someone had reported my property for housing hazardous materials. But here's the twist. One of the inspectors had actually attended my EL symposium in Dallas and immediately recognized the gel compound. He laughed, shook my hand, and said, "Some folks watch too many horror flicks." Of course, Paige was filming the whole thing from behind her curtain like she was making a documentary. And when the city crew left with nothing but a thumbs up, you could practically see her deflate. But she wasn't done. Her next move? A Facebook group called Clean Street, Safe Pools, loaded with fuzzy photos and over-the-top claims about my toxic backyard. A few neighbors joined just for the spectacle, but others weren't having it. One guy joked, "Pretty sure I saw Godzilla back there too." I tried to ignore it, but when I noticed people giving me weird looks, I figured enough was enough. So I planned a neighborhood event, something fun, educational. I called it Myth versus Science, open to everyone. We had snacks, demos, and even some local researchers pitching in. One table had a whiteboard breaking down all of Paige's claims, one by one, with evidence to debunk them. And of course, Paige showed up. Wide-brimmed hat, huge sunglasses, scarf, like she was ducking paparazzi. She started filming again, claiming I was spreading propaganda. I kept things calm, explained the science, even let kids handle the gel so they could see it was harmless. Paige pulled out her old flyers and waved them around like court documents, shouting, "You may have fooled them, but I know the truth." One teenager muttered, "Sounds like a Harry Potter spell." And that was it. The whole place erupted in laughter. Paige turned crimson and stormed off. But the crowd stayed. They helped clean up, asked thoughtful questions, and a couple of families even offered to host future events. Just when I thought it was done, I caught her son and his friends on my night cam. They'd snuck into my yard carrying gallons of bleach, ready to pour it in the pool. I hit the floodlights, recorded everything, and called the cops. The next morning, Paige was outside, yelling that I had traumatized her child. I walked out holding the police report and said, "You want to talk danger? Try trespassing, vandalism, and tampering with research." For the first time, she had no comeback. But instead of backing off, Paige escalated. Petitions, Facebook posts tagging local officials, Photoshop edits of my house with lightning and captions like, "Suburban scientist from hell." Most neighbors ignored her. Some sent me screenshots, laughing. That's when Frank, the HOA president, stepped in. He called a mandatory board meeting. The room was full, buzzing with tension. Paige walked in late, arms full of folders. But the board was ready. They laid everything out. The bleach, the flyers, the break-in attempts. Paige tried to claim implied consent, but the room just stared at her. The board voted. Her HOA privileges were revoked. She was fined for damages and banned from organizing any events. Within a month, she moved out. Her yard overgrown, curtains closed, car gone. Neighbors started visiting again, some with cookies, some just to laugh and joke about the pool that bit back. I even put up a sign, "Warning, this pool bites." Life finally got quiet. But even now, when people walk by, I sometimes hear them whisper, "That's where science beat crazy." And I just smile. It's wild, isn't it? All that chaos just because someone didn't understand boundaries or basic chemistry. So let me ask you, if your neighbor tried to turn your yard into a battleground, what would you do? Got a story of your own HOA madness? Drop it in the comments. Let's see who's living in the real soap opera street. And hey, like and subscribe because sometimes science does bite.